I do auto hail repair, very niche. Hailstorms, hail damage on cars,
Yeah.
similar to roofing. I do 5.5 million. I want to be at 15 million next year.
Cool.
My biggest constraint is being under 10 million is people, leadership. So my question is, if I'm hiring basically a leadership, C-suite, bench, COO, CMO, that type of thing, what have you seen as the most effective way to design compensation and decision-making structure for a team like this so that performance scales without eroding owner control or margins?
So I think first off, you might be mistitling.
Okay.
Because at 5-ish million, you're probably not truly looking for C-suite, like actual C-suite. You're probably looking more for like a VP or director in terms of like titling.
Sure.
That might help with the comp stuff. So thing one, titles. Thing two, which role you want? What roles are missing right now?
I would say I need a better operations person.
Okay. Like a right hand, like you were the
Yeah.
visionary, and you need somebody
Correct.
like.
Yeah.
Okay. So you need an operator. Is that the main one that you need to hire right now?
I would say right now that's probably the biggest constraint because everything seems to come back to me in terms of operations.
Yeah, so I look at anybody who's done any kind of auto, anyone who's done any kind of auto repair stuff might be helpful. In terms of looking for my search, you'll probably do well. There's obviously a bunch of different sources you can do for getting talent. My bet would be the two most fruitful would be LinkedIn outreach.
Okay.
And as silly as this may sound, even like simple like Indeed ads. You'll probably get lower quality candidates from the Indeed ads. You can still get lucky. Right at the level that you're hiring for is kind of the transition between when you run ads and when you start doing targeted outreach for the level of person that you're looking for. And so I think if you targeted outreach, I would look for people who are in auto around the same size as what you're currently doing, who are basically in that role, and you say, hey, you want to do that thing that you did there over here? And that's probably, like, honestly, that's what it's going to be. And so from an outreach effort perspective, it's like you'll probably want to reach out to 500 or so. And if you're struggling with your local area, you can offer a relocation package. It's kind of like a signing bonus to encourage them to come there. And that would probably help you solve the personnel issue. In terms of what I'd be looking for, you want someone who is a leader, not someone who, because oftentimes you'll have people who they'll trick us, entrepreneurs. And they'll be like, it's all about processes and systems. And it's like, those people hate talking to people, and that's not what you need relief from right now. You need probably more people to handle shit. Which means that when something bad happens, they go to them, not you. And so you need someone who you think your team would admire and look up to, their character. Because if you find leaders, then they can lead almost anything. And the auto is just like a bonus, but a really good operator can just come into just about any business and run it. Because they're usually 2 levels above, like they're not fixing cars, they're fixing people, and that's the same.
Sure. Appreciate that. And in terms of compensation for something like that at level where I'm trying to go?
It's kind of like a reverse sale. So the offer that you're going to be giving is going to be proportional to the leverage you or they have over the role, right? If you have someone who has less experience, they're younger, they're going to have less leverage, and so you wouldn't have to give up as much. If someone's done this scaling process 2 other times before that and taken someone from 5 to 50 2 times, then they'll probably want more, and it might be justified, right? And so I have a hard time saying like this is the hard and fast way that you should do this. It's going to depend on the talent, but I would say like run-of-the-mill generic, VP ops or director of ops role, maybe a GM, general manager. It depends. Like I'd have to know a little bit more about what the day-to-day is going to look like. But for someone like that, having a small tie to the overall profitability of the business is not a bad idea. So a good way of doing that is like you run a profit pool of 10 to 20% that you distribute amongst the leaders. And then as the business grows, that 10 or 20%, that percentage stays the same, but the pie increases. And so they think like owners like you do, which is like, well, we're going to bring this other guy in who's also going to be a leader. And they have to be willing to cut some of their pie up the same way you do, because they think it'll expand the overall pie. So it gets them thinking more like an owner in that perspective. But I like 10-ish, 15 sometimes in terms of profit share pools. And if you want to tie them in to the overall value of the business, the way that I have this conversation, this will go for just about everyone here, is that you have cash flow, you've got sale, you've got risk, and then you've got control, right? And so these are the 4 things that come with equity. And most people say they want equity, but you're like, you want risk? And they're like, no, I don't want risk. And you're like, okay, do you want control? Because I'm not giving it to you. And they're like, no, I don't want that. You're like, okay, cool. So that's off the table, but you do want cash flow and you do want the potential for an exit. And they say, yeah. And you're like, okay, cool. So we'll have a profit share pool here to help you with this. And then what we'll do is you'll have call it a 4% profits interest in the business. You'll get 1% per year. I'm making numbers up, 1% per year. It's phantom though, which means if they leave, it comes back. And then in the time that a sale occurs, they would get to recognize whatever percentage they have. We could accelerate the whole 4% if you wanted to in the event of a sale, but it's only if they're there during the sale and they've been there for at least 12 months or 24 months or something like that. And that gives them the best of both worlds. The only downside of that setup for an employee is that they have to pay regular income taxes on the sale bonus because it'll be structured like an option. If they didn't want to do that, they would actually have to pay taxes on the equity that they got and not get anything else, which most people don't want to do.
Gotcha. And that you're specifically talking about like a COO, that would be like managing multiple shops or upper ops under them type of thing.
No, you want, I mean, so if you're going to do this is somebody who's going to drive.
Right, for sure. And then for the ops managers themselves, would you still do that?
You could do that on a shop basis, yeah.
Okay, so that would be separate from.
Do you have any separate LLCs?
I don't. No.
Okay, well, something to consider. You can still, if you run the P&L separately, which you probably do, as long as the P&Ls are separate, you can still calculate it that way.
Okay.
But, and I'm assuming they're brick and mortar, right? I have found, so who here's brick and mortar? Can I get hands raised real quick? Okay, perfect, yeah. So this will apply to more than just you. If you are doing private expansion, which you are, right? You own all the shops. I have yet to see someone do an exceptional job expanding without having the equivalent of an operator, boots on the ground, in each store that has no tie to the bottom line. So I would strongly encourage, and that doesn't mean that you go to all the people you have now and say, here's profit share. It's more like, what type of people do I need to, what caliber of person do I need to actually have this run so that I don't need to have all this hand-holding happening? And that type of person might require profit share, which then allows you to truly decentralize these and actually have them run kind of more independently, which will allow you to expand.
Gotcha. And then when you talk about like a 10% to an ops manager, so they have that, is that of like revenue increase or the total amount?
So there's 2 ways that I like structuring these. We're gonna go as deep as you guys want. So there's 2 ways I like structuring these. Number one is if you have which I don't think will be the right one for you, because so for the people who have fast growth businesses that are not geographically constrained, I like doing this, which is that you can have a much higher percentage, say I'm gonna give you 30% of the growth that we had from last year, and that becomes the watermark for next year, and then you gotta grow it again. But I'll give you a fat percentage of whatever you grow it. In a geographically constrained business like a local business, I don't do that because it's tough for them to actually grow, then they get really discouraged. And so I'd rather have them have a profit share percentage, profit share of the profit, not revenue, that they're gonna get. And I reverse engineer what I think OTE, on target earnings, should be. So if I think that the caliber of person who I would need to hire for this role should make $150,000 a year, because I get the questions like, should I do 5% or 10%? I'm like, well, I don't know what the profit is, and how much effort. Like, there's a lot of variables.
10% would be a lot.
Okay, so what is the profit for 10% for one store?
I mean, margins are 40%. So
okay. Yeah. Well, no, but like, what's the?
Yeah. So
how much?
well, I have 4 locations, but one of them is where 80% of the revenue is coming from right now because it's storm related.
Yeah. Okay.
Makes sense. So monthly. We're talking monthly.
Sure.
Dividing.
I won't tell them.
No, I'm just thinking in terms of that one store overall.
We'll do the other 3, whatever.
Okay, over 3, so. So, close to 200 a month?
In profit?
Yeah.
For one store?
Yeah.
Okay. You said you were doing 5.5 million, right?
Yeah.
Huh? It's 5.5 million, 4 stores, each one's doing $200,000 a month in profit.
No, I was picking one. I said cumulative.
Oh, cumulative's 200.
Yeah, that's what I
okay,
mean.
got it. So let's say divided by 4,
Right.
you've got $50,000 a month in profit that's coming in per store. Okay, so $50,000 a month in profit per store. If they had 10%, they would get $5,000 extra a month. They get
Right.
60 grand extra. If they're making 100 and they can make 160, great.
200 to 400 would be average next year. The only reason why I have the 4 is because
Okay.
they run without me, and it's just
Yeah.
there.
Fundamentally, if
Yeah.
we just reverse engineer OT, it could be
Right.
5%. Like the percentage doesn't matter. I just want to reverse engineer how much money do I think this person should make. If they're bad, they'll get fired. If they're mediocre, they make
Right.
on target. And if they crush it, I want them to make this much money.
Sure.
So I just put those lines in the sand, take that money and reverse in percentages, and then that's what I present.
Okay, makes sense. Appreciate you.
No, appreciate you, man. Congratulations.
If you're a business owner and you're not growing as fast as you'd like, I'd like to give you a free gift. So my team and I put together the $100 million scaling roadmap, which is basically 200 hours of us looking over all the portfolio companies we've had and what stages of growth they went through, and more importantly, where they got stuck and how they got past it. And so we broke it into these 10 stages, and we made this little kind of quiz thing where if you put in your business information, it'll tell you where you're at, and the most important part for you, what to do for each of the functions of the business across product, marketing, sales, customer success, recruiting, IT, human resources, and finance. And so no matter what you're struggling with, someone else has already struggled with it and solved it. And so I'd like to give you this thing absolutely free. You can go to acquisition.com/roadmap, plug in your business information. And if you want us to actually help you deconstrain the business and you're trying to scale, we'd love to help you out. On the thank you page, you can just book a call with my team and we will look at the business, see if we can help. And if we can, we'll invite you out to Vegas and we'll do this in person live.